In this episode, we start by attending a water puppet show in the evening. Then the next day, we head to Cát Bà Island for an afternoon sail around Lan Ha Bay, and then an overnight stay at an Ecolodge before heading back to Hanoi. In the evening, back in Hanoi, we visited the Lotus Water Puppet Theater. The show lasts about 45 minutes and was very interesting and well done, with the puppeteers hiding behind a screen and manipulating puppets underwater. They enacted some of the historical events of Vietnam. The show is highly recommended if you are in this area and you have some time. At the end of the show, the puppeteers came out and made themselves known. I noticed several of them were women, but they were all very talented. The next day, we headed out to Haiphong to catch a ferry to Cát Bà Island and a cruise around Lan Ha Bay, which is part of the greater Ha Long Bay area. All along this route, we saw devastation that was caused by Typhoon Yagi, which hit northern Vietnam in early September. We saw dozens of trees snapped in half on the roadside and several trees that had been uprooted. Many buildings were damaged and some had their roofs completely torn off. There is also a lot of new construction going on to accommodate the population growth of Vietnam. Here you see hundreds of new apartments under construction. We are passing the VinFast factory here, which is owned by one of the richest men in Vietnam. As we got closer to the ferry terminal, we saw these huge pylons for the Sun World Cát Bà cable car, which takes you from Cát Bà Island to Cát Bà town. When we first arrived, the cable cars were not running, but while we were waiting for the ferry, they started up. These pylons were absolutely gigantic. Our ferry arrived and we made our way on foot to the ship. Our driver drove the bus separately onto the ferry. You've heard of the slow boat to China. Well, this was the slow boat to Cát Bà Island. It crawled along at a snail's pace, and these next video segments have been sped up. Here is our sister ship silently gliding by. We are getting closer to our destination for offloading. Back on the bus, we made our way to the southern tip of the island to catch our other boat for a cruise around Lan Ha Bay to see the limestone monoliths. Here we are at the harbor, waiting for our boat to arrive, which was exclusively for our group. There is our sailing guide going to guide the boat into the harbor for boarding. And here comes the OSHA-approved boarding ladder. Once on board, we were welcomed by the captain. We explored the boat and got settled in to take the breathtaking views all around us as we sailed out into the bay. So this is Cát Bà Island, and this is part of Haiphong Bay. We are passing one of the typical floating fishing villages where they cultivate fish in floating mesh enclosures. Everywhere we looked, we were surrounded by these massive limestone islands sticking straight out of the water. After about half an hour of sailing, they served us a delicious lunch. We had grilled oysters, fried chicken, pork rolls, vegetables, and as always, sticky rice. Some of the group decided to go on a kayaking trip to explore the bay. Here are some pics of the group getting into their canoes Here they are, coming back after about an hour of canoeing around the bay. Peter, Lily and Saxon decided to swim to the island you can see in the background. We are now making our way back to the harbor as it was getting late in the day. You can see the undercutting of the limestone by wave action over the millennia. Here we are, coming back into the harbor, getting ready to offload. We boarded our bus and headed to our overnight stop at the Cát Bà Ecolodge, right in the heart of the jungle. This is a view from outside my room located on the first floor, showing the main buildings of the lodge. This building has the reception area and the bar. This is the entrance to my room, and here is the inside. I had a female guest come visit me at night, and she kept me awake for a couple of hours with her chattering. Here is her picture. In the morning, I walked around the lodge grounds and got some close-ups of the buildings. This is the main restaurant area. We were served breakfast on these tables in the foreground. This is the lodge reception area I talked about earlier. And this is the bar. This place is located right in the middle of nature. I really enjoyed staying at this place. The evening dinner and morning breakfast were very good and tasty also. We were served breakfast on these tables and benches. The white building in the background is their kitchen. That building is where my room was located on the first floor on the right-hand side. In the background, you can see the swimming pool, and here's a closer look at it. While we were having breakfast, a large number of yellow butterflies appeared and started flying all around us.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
look.
right. Oh, yes, one is.
Oh, there's this one on the lipstick.
He come here scrunchy.
They like you. I think they like my sunscreen.
Here are some shots of our bus and our wonderful driver. Good morning, Mr. Twee. How are you?
Okay.
Good, good. And this is our coach. We say goodbye to a wonderful host at the Ecolodge and head back to the ferry terminal. Arriving back at the terminal, we had to wait for our ferry to arrive and offload before we could board the ship. These are the officials that monitor the arrival, offloading, and reboarding of the ferries. Here we are, arriving at the dock on Cát Bà Island, ready to head back to Hanoi. We boarded our bus and started the long journey back to Hanoi.